So thank you all for joining. I'm Barry Spielman, Product Marketing Director for Security Products here at Allot, and I'm very excited to be hosting this webinar today. In the rapidly changing world in which we live, it has become increasingly clear that subscribers no longer view cybersecurity as an optimal premium service, but rather they expect their telecom operators to provide security solutions as part of a basic package. How much are subscribers willing to pay for cybersecurity services? Are they willing to switch to alternative providers in order to receive those services? What is the mood regarding parents of children regarding parental controls on their children's devices? To find out the answers to these questions and more, we again joined forces with Coleman Research based in London. This time we surveyed 8,000 people, consumers in 12 countries around the world, in Europe, North America, Asia. And in today's webinar, we will be presenting the results of our consumer cybersecurity survey, as well as speaking with our senior regional sales management to see what their takeaways are from the survey and what they are seeing in the field. You can go to the slide, we show the speakers, there we go. I'm very pleased to be joined today by Stephen Saw, Director at Coleman Parks Research, as well as by Moshe Moran, Vice President for Sales in North America at Allot. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. All right. So folks, we're going to start in a couple of seconds, but first let me do a couple of quick housekeeping items, all right? So firstly, this webinar is being recorded and it will be available on demand on the resources section of the Allot website under webinars. And we'll be having the Q&A at the end of this webinar today. So go ahead and I invite you to ask questions. There's a Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom portal. Ask your questions throughout. We'll get to the questions at the end of the session. I also want to point out that we will be sending you our latest telco trend report, which is based on the survey that we're presenting here today. So you should be getting it at the conclusion of the webinar or later in the evening. And with that, I think we're ready to go. And so I am going to turn the floor over to you, Stephen. And Moshe, feel free to jump in. Let's keep this interactive. Jump in with your comments from the field. I think the interaction with the two is going to make it very interesting for a good discussion. So, Stephen, take it away.
Great, thanks for the introduction, Barry, and a warm welcome to everyone who's joined today, and a good morning as well. My name's Stephen Saw. I'm one of the directors at Coleman Parks Research. I'll be leading the call today and taking you through the findings. To start with, I thought I'd just give a bit of a study background on the methodology and who we targeted. So the survey took place at the end of last year, so this is very recent data. We used an online survey methodology to target consumers who are subscribers to mobile phones. And we made sure there was a subset of parents as well, because there's a particular interest in speaking to parents with children that are aged 3 to 16 years old. So a very robust sample, and we covered a range of different geographies, including North America, MEA, and APAC. We do focus on some of the North American findings in this particular presentation. So what's really different, because this is the second time we've run this survey, is that we've built extensively on the maturing and mature markets, and that's to really kind of get a few more insights, dig it a little bit deeper under the issues at hand, and ultimately wanting to understand the uptake and desire for security solutions among the general public, and how we can help educate CSPs on their needs and demands currently. A bit more on the audience profile. So a lot of this data we've sort of scrutinized it. We've been through the various age breaks and gender breaks. In the North America data, nearly all of them or all of them were post-paid customers. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So those with contracts. I can answer any more questions about the survey itself and the setup in the Q&A if you have any questions on that. And just to kind of recap as well about the parents. So they have different ranges of children, and we saw some really interesting insights in that as well, especially when it came to the importance of security solutions and parental controls as children get a little bit older, as the data will show us. So let's begin and get stuck into the findings. So the first slide we're going to look at really does set the scene for the entire deck. And that's looking at the number of subscribers who have been a victim of a cyber attack in the last 3 years. And this is really quite showing of how severe it's becoming across the world. 23% are certain they've been attacked. So they know they've been a victim of a cyber attack and it's affected them personally. What else is quite interesting as well is 44%, nearly half of subscribers assume they have, or they think they have. And that's what we think is because cyber attacks and so forth are becoming a lot more sophisticated. I know from my personal experience that, once a week I get a bogus text message pretending to be a bank or whatever it might be. And it's becoming more frequent, more under the radar. And so it's not surprising that there's this uncertainty of whether or not I have been a victim. So the bottom line is 67% of 7 in 10 subscribers have potentially been a victim. And that's why when we ask them, what are the features when signing up to a mobile phone, what are most important to you, 88% ranked mobile security protection as the most important feature at the end of 2021. And that's quite telling because that's nearly double that of entertainment features, which we all know from previous years. Maybe when smartphones came out, entertainment was probably up there in terms of the technology and something new that mobile phones could offer. But now that's switching to we need protection. So really interesting insights.
Yeah, I mean, these numbers really stand out, certainly to me. Moshe, what's your take on this from the field?
I think that this is kind of a bit shocking, finding, and also very, very concerning. So first, if you look at the 67%, it means that 2 out of 3 people basically potentially were a victim of an attack, which is amazing. But then the more important number is that 88% of the subscriber actually expect the carrier, the mobile provider, to provide the solution. And if I make an equivalent, it's like when we buy water from the water company, we expect the water to be clean. So the same is with the subscriber expecting the phone company, the mobile provider, to provide to him a clean pipe. So that's something very, very interesting. I have to say that also more and more subscribers today see security more as a core service, again, clean water, rather than a value-added service. And if the mobile provider will treat it also as a core service rather than a value-added service, he will get more subscribers that will join in. He will get bigger stickiness with the subscribers. And I think that the findings here are completely supporting that. And I think we'll probably be talking about it later, but carriers would face dangers of losing subscribers if they do not provide the safe environment or the option to have a safe environment for their subscribers. And it's very, very critical findings in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, especially now it's becoming an expectation at this level. Like you said, it's an expectation to be a core offering. Okay, we'll move on. I think we're going to touch on this in various different places. And one other thing I'll point out, I mean, we did this last survey on consumers back in December of 2020, right?
2020, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so a lot of what we're going to see here as we go through this, and also you'll see it in the report, folks, that we'll be sending you after the webinar today, is the trend line of everything we're talking about is just increasing. Okay, it's more and more people are aware, more and more people feel that they should be getting this, getting it from the service provider, and so on and so on. We'll see it throughout. Go ahead, Steve.
Absolutely. And this particular slide here, so the next kind of question and area we kind of probed is what threats are most concerning when it comes to a cyber attack. And we can see the numbers here. We gave respondents subscribers around 13 different options to choose from and to select their top 5. And you can see on screen, these are the top 5, and they all sort of encompass fraud, of things around identity theft, unauthorized access to bank accounts, accounts being hacked. So, so there is this sort of anxiety amongst subscribers. They're aware of the impact a cyber attack could have on their financial well-being and their personal life, and that really does come through in here. And that's and that sums up why they're looking for greater security protection from mobile phones. Okay, this is the next interesting insight, which is looking at the number of respondents who have already got a security application on their phone and what they're protecting themselves against. So looking at the sort of the top half of the bottom half of the screen here, we can see that in 2020, a lot of subscribers were protecting themselves against virus attacks. That's increased up to 70% in 2 years. The same with malware, that's gone up by 5 percentage points, and so on and so on. So we can see that there's an increasing trend into protecting themselves and their mobile phone devices. Therefore, it's no surprise that 78% of consumers say it's important for their mobile devices to be protected from a cyber attack. So there's a real need here amongst consumers to be protected, and they are aware of the attacks that are out there and therefore need protecting.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, and these numbers are going up, the comparisons are pretty clear, but I'm just looking specifically here at Canada and North and the United States. And Moshe, from the field, what are you seeing?
Well, absolutely obvious, like the need and the understanding from the subscriber that those threats are there and that they need to be protected is obvious. I've been talking to different carriers. I'm a consumer, of course, myself, but I've been talking to groups that have studied the consumers, and it's very, very obvious. Subscribers are concerned. They are way more aware than they were 2 years ago, a year ago, and they are becoming more and more aware. 5G, for example, brings a whole new wealth of data, of information, and with that, a whole new sets of dangers.
Yeah.
And all of those types of attacks will only intensify, and the subscriber is aware of it. And I think that the carriers that will make security one of their main pillars, one of the things that they say, I'm the most secure network, will be able to keep their subscribers and also be able to get more and more subscribers if other carriers don't do that. So it's something that is very obvious. And again, subscribers are fully aware of that.
Now, what's cool is when we do this research, we go out and do the surveys, and we could corroborate it with what we're seeing ourselves in the field. It makes it for a strong argument. All right, go ahead, Will. Let's move
Indeed. And then we also asked those who have not got security on their mobile device, what's preventing them from investing in a solution. And you can see in the middle of the screen that there are a whole raft of different areas, and the top one being on the left-hand side, did not know which to choose. And that has increased, it's almost doubled.
A lot, yeah.
In 2 years. So, and you'd think it would go the other way, but it's not. It's going in the sort of more reverse of where we want to be. So, and we think it's because there's just too much choice in the market. Consumers aren't security experts. They're not. They are aware of the impact it could have on them. They have that anxiety, and they're looking for solutions that are best equipped for their needs. But there's too much choice. There's too much confusion. So it's a real challenge for consumers, and we can see, especially in the United States as well, a whole cluster over here of and this is the top markets that have had the greatest shift out of all the markets we surveyed, and US is at the top in terms of the biggest increase in these areas. So jumping from not knowing where to look in the United States, that's jumped from 17%, it's doubled nearly to 32%. So they're in the market, they're keen, they're looking for a solution, but they're not sure who to turn to. Then also you have this 4% jumped to 23% about there is being too much hassle to install. I mean, they're not IT experts. They're not, totally savvy around how to actually maintain an application. So sometimes that's just the straw that breaks the camel's back, and they end up not securing their device. And then, and there's a whole, here worrying about adding apps to their devices. They're not really sure which one. So in summary, there is just a lot of choice, a lot of confusion in the markets, and they just need a bit more direction.
Yeah, with too much choice, you're actually not really sure if you're making the right choice. And the most natural place to go is actually to the carrier, because he provides you the connectivity. He will likely be able to provide you with the right ability, to make the right choice. If you find, endpoint solution, which many are using as their default, most of the consumers will actually, and you can see it here, will not take the extra step, even if it's for free, to go and install it on the app. So the expectation actually is for the provider to be able to provide the protection without the hassle for the subscriber to actually go do the installation, do the configuration, make sure that it's running, and so on. So the success and the greater success and the greater protection will come from within the carrier, which is actually the network, in my personal view. And I see a trend for sure with different carriers to use more of the protection that is coming from the network. Because if you look at the different areas here, the network provides you with the best possible protection to address those areas, and it applies also to the different threats that we saw in the previous slides.
And what else I found really quite fascinating is that this represents around 7 in 10 consumers. So they don't have a security device, and 7 in 10 subscribers are going through these pain points just trying to secure their device. So a big issue that needs addressing, and there's a role to be played in terms of taking a lead on helping protect these consumers in regards to this cybersecurity.
Excellent.
Okay. So then we looked at, well, what's, given that we have a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of demand, there's also a lot of confusion. We asked them straight out, are you willing to pay for a solution? And we gave them a range of different answers, from it should be free, or I'm not interested, to actually I'm willing to pay a bit of money for a solution. So we asked them that question, and we were able to find out how much they were willing to pay per mobile phone per month. So they opted in for a monthly subscription service in all the countries you can see for each mobile phone they have, and with parents that includes mobile phones in the household. So we've got the dollar range for the US and the Canada. It's around sort of $2.81 a month to $2.56 Canadian dollars a month. So there is this willingness to pay for a solution that will ease those anxieties and give them the level of protection that they're seeking.
Yeah, Moshe, let's drill down for a second here on US and Canada. What's your thoughts on these findings?
So when I first saw good question. And again, when I first saw the findings, I was asking myself, for what I know and for what I looked at, and from I am as a consumer, I know that the numbers for the most, should be higher. Okay, and I'll explain what eventually, I found out after we digged out to the details. So many carriers today have different tiers of service. They have the lower tiers, and they have prepaid subscribers, which is not a lot in North America, and they have their premium tiers. If you look at what the premium tiers, which could be, I don't know, anywhere between 10 to 40% of their base, they're typically willing to pay more, and they have better understanding of the threats of security. If you look at the lower tiers, you will find that they will be willing to pay less. So I think that in an environment like that, you would find, and again, in my personal view, North American subscribers, and again, my personal research, are willing to pay more, and probably in the excess of 5 or even more dollars a month for those type of services. And I think it's obvious when you see it in the next slide, because
I
you
think
can
you
see
moved,
that
you jumped the slide here.
I jumped the slide in a sense, but you can see that 46% basically of the subscribers are actually exceeding the $2. And in my view, it's anywhere between $5 to $10. So what the security brings on top of the threats that you have from the from the actually security threat, it brings a huge monetization opportunity for the carriers. And I think that we'll talk about it later, but the potential is huge. It's something that will add a lot to the bottom line.
Actually, you talk about that. I mean, like you say, it's a good question, because we have a slide that's going to show exactly what the opportunity is.
I was just going to move straight to that slide right now, because if we're going to break down the US, let's break it down now.
So it's obvious, it's a huge market, $10 billion for North America, maybe even more. And you can see basically the breakdown here. So the opportunity is definitely there. Also keep in mind one thing: the ARPU. If you look at the ARPU in Europe and in most of the country in APAC, it's low. It's anywhere between $10 to $20. If you look at the ARPU in North America, you're talking about $46 to $50, which is, in many cases, 2 to 5 times more of other countries. So with that, consumers have more willingness to pay a proportional percentage to be protected. And that's why the numbers for the North American market would make sense to be higher in comparison to other markets.
Yeah,
exactly. You got the comparison to the other markets.
And I've put the comparisons up here, because it's a huge point that you're making there, and even globally, it's a $20 billion opportunity if we were to put those numbers into USDs as well. And I think it's really quite showing, isn't it, and telling that all it will take is for a CSP to move in, reduce all of the confusion in the market, and give a solution, and that it's there for the taking, in a sense. So and like you say, it's a global trend, as we can see here with all the various markets, but particularly in North America, hitting that 10 bill mark. So it's a really good opportunity.
Maybe go back to the previous slide that was specifically for the market. So what does the subscriber eventually buys? The subscriber buys a peace of mind. So I mentioned earlier that there is a difference between the core service and the value-added service. And in a sense, since in our view, I think in what we see, in a lot, it's a core service, and it's basically buying a peace of mind. For me, it's more and much closer to an insurance the subscriber pays. And the question is, we all pay a lot for insurance, and depends on what you get for the insurance. Now, another point that is really, really important, I think, in what you buy, and those numbers, I think, are less representative of what. So there's few levels of protection. You can protect the mobile device itself. Then you can look on protecting, additional devices, the family, let's say. Then you can look at protecting, the home. And can look at protecting the business. And what happens if you're outside of the mobile subscriber control, you're on Wi-Fi, on a Starbucks somewhere, and you need the protection too. So there are many, many aspects of the protection. And I think that the subscriber will be willing to pay more if you provide to the subscriber a full 360 protection that covers all the different aspects, and not just the mobile phone, because then you will get real value. You go to one place, you set up security parameters, and you protect literally every single point that you're touching, including your home and everything. So for me, that's the ultimate type of protection, and I personally would be willing to pay a lot more to this type of protection. And if we take this type of protection into account, the market value could not be 10 billion, it could be actually 50 billion, 60 billion. So again, the opportunity is really, really, really great in this market. And I strongly feel that, this is something that, create the monetization opportunity for the carrier and the stickiness opportunity between the subscriber and the carrier. And those numbers for me, for the survey, completely support that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good stuff. I want to jump back. I think we were here already, so maybe you want to move on.
Yeah, exactly. And I like your phrase there about stickiness and loyalty and things like that. And I think this particular slide does sort of resonate with what we're seeing. We did ask subscribers if they'd switch to a new mobile phone service provider if they're offered a security solution. Now, these numbers are quite high, but what it does, and it is very encouraging, but what it does show is that consumers are more, well, cybersecurity is more top of mind when it comes to to consumers. They're more willing to switch. And you could look at it as also as in loyalty as well, because if you're offering a cybersecurity protection to your consumers, then they're more likely to stay with you. So you can flip this around in terms of that. But I think looking at the kind of switching elements, we all know that the key drivers for switching switching a provider is more traditionally things around poor quality of service or whatever it might be. But what this is showing is that cybersecurity protection is now joining that cohort. It's joining the list of reasons to switch. What you don't want it to be is what tilts them into moving away from you. But then again, also in the opposite is increasing that loyalty amongst your subscribers. So a great way to bring in to attract business to you, but also to, as Moshe said, create that stickiness as well between the provider and the subscriber.
Absolutely.
Okay, I would just add here that this just reinforces what we've been saying about it being viewed as a core offering, at least from the side of the subscribers, or how they see it. These numbers have gone up again. That's a dramatic increase in the last 2 years, 60% to 80%. And it's just saying that, and while it might not be ultimately what causes the switch, it's something that carriers have to think about, because it's in their heads. It's in the heads of the subscribers if they're talking in these kind of numbers. Okay. Go ahead. Want to add something?
No, I'm good. I'll move on to parental control.
Let's move on to parental control.
Smashing. Okay, so the final few slides is going to focus on parental control. This is where we're specifically looking at the results of parents with children aged 3 to 16 years old. And we're going to ask them the same kind of style of question, but it really does hammer home this need for protection. And then when we bring parents into the mix, it's even more apparent the need for protection. So instantly we can see on screen here on the left, 80% or 8 in 10 parents view parental control as an important feature on their mobile phone, and 78% also value it. And these numbers are, they're low and high in certain markets, but what is interesting is also the areas they want protecting. They want to be able to cast a wide net, a nice secure net, with regards to their children and what they're consuming on their devices, and to have a solution that will block access to inappropriate content or application uses and installation. So they are quite aware of what's out there in terms of threats to their children. And as we've seen, it's now becoming a very important feature to have some sort of control, parental control, to protect their children. And what is great to see is that parents are trusting of CSPs. So it's an important aspect when it comes to choosing a CSP. They want to have parental control as part of their contract or bundle, and I think it's showing that that's removing the need to, I'd rather be proactively working with a supplier to get the right security solution rather than having to go out on my own and find out what's in the market. As we've seen, just with security, it's confusing. And when we talk about parental control, it's I guess that's kind of resonating as well. And this propensity to switch, again, look at it as a switching factor, joining the same cohort as poor quality of service, but also a loyalty driver as well. So, and it's a really, if they're trusting of CSPs, it's a good way for CSPs to demonstrate trust and protection, is to protect families. So some really strong numbers here, showing a drive towards identifying parental solutions from CSPs.
Yeah, Moshe, what do you see? I mean, one of the top 3 countries here of the 74% statistics, the United States. What are you seeing in the field?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised. I'm seeing more and more need for parental control. Think about it, but kids today, like more and more and more in younger kids, are accessing phones. So in the past, if the phone was given to a teenager, now you can find smartphones going to kids that are 10 years old or even younger than that.
But 5 years old.
5 years old.
My 5-year-old grandson walks around with a cell phone. Gosh.
Okay.
No, seriously.
So if in the past, we're thinking that parental control maybe represent 10% of the subscriber base, now with kids and having parents, in some cases, grandparents trying to apply and keep them safe, then the market now could be almost as high as 25% of the subscriber base. And more than that, the kids today would have, many different touch points, or where they can access the internet, and many different ways to easily bypass it. And kids are smart, they would know how to bypass things if they are given the way. So what the parents, in a sense, need are simple tools that will allow them from a central place to control all the different touch points, in a sense, and for them to feel that their kids are protected and are not accessing, content and sites that that they are not allowed to access. So again, I think it's something very, very important, and to see that US is ranked as 83%. I'm sure Canada is maybe 82 or 81.
They didn't make the top 3.
I know, but the markets are very similar. I'm not surprised, and again, it's something that is becoming more and more important. We're getting from the field more queries from carriers asking us about the abilities to support parental control, and if we take it to maybe a small business aspect, not just parental control, but also admin control, basically content filtering to different SMBs. And the ability to make sure that the employees don't go to places they are not supposed to as well. So that's kind of a different angle of parental control, but for grown-ups.
We can call it content filtering. We can expand on it if we want, because it's absolutely a part of our offering. But so far, we're not focusing on our offering here. We're talking on the trends. Stephen, is there any? There's another slide? Or?
Yeah, there is. I was going to say as well, just to add to that, what was really quite interesting when we broke down the data by age of child in the household is that the need for parental controls grows in importance as the children get older. So as the kids get more sophisticated, more and knowing how to sort of bypass these apps, but they're more curious as well, the need, the importance, it goes up significantly. And then it starts to tail down when they've kind of reached sort of 16 years old. So I guess by that point, the kids are on their own, but turning into adults. But really quite really interesting stuff. Again, what we're seeing is, like what we saw earlier, there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace on who to turn to for that protection. In the United States, it's around sort of 57% looking to their mobile service provider, whereas the general pop are saying more so their ISP. So again, not really sure who to turn to for that level of protection.
And again, I think it's natural. And as I said earlier, there are different tiers that the carrier would provide, but I think the higher you get and the more premium subscriber you are, with the company, you expect the company to provide the protection. I think that if you take like a prepaid subscriber going on MVNO, there is expectation to provide the protection, but it will be a much greater expectation if I pay like I don't know, $150 a month to a plan with other things. I expect the protection to be part of that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, looking at those numbers, actually just like moving on from there, again, we asked about exactly the same type of question, willingness to pay for a solution per mobile phone. And most subscribers opted for a monthly plan. This is parents protecting their children, and so I guess for each of the mobile phones their children have. And the actual average amount they're willing to pay for parental controls is higher than security in general. So there's a strong need and urgency and a willingness to pay for parental controls.
But then this is, I think you have to emphasize that this is based on the cohort of parents. Right? This isn't the general audience. This is parents.
Yes.
Saying.
That's right, parents.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And what that means and what that translates to, if we were to model it up with number of parents in, globally and within each market, it's about a 9 billion, 8.5 billion global opportunity for CSPs, particularly in the United States, where you're verging just over 4 billion. So the drivers out there in the market, and I think it could be a core differentiator for CSPs and something that's a golden opportunity in that respect.
I definitely see that in different discussions. So again, different touch point. In my view, it could even be a larger market, but it is, from those numbers, large as is.
Brilliant.
Field confirms again.
Definitely on this one.
Brilliant.
You got the eyes on VP bar sales in North America, so you see it.
Yeah, excellent.
An important perspective.
So let me tie it off with some key takeaways before we move to the Q&A. I think it's been the narrative that's really pulled throughout the entire deck is that, and the research that we've done over the last 2 years is the trend is increasing in terms of the need for protection from cyber attacks. Victims of cyber attacks are increasing. Anxiety is increasing with that. We saw that consumers understand it's important and they're looking for applications. There's some of them have already tried to put something on their mobile phone, whilst others are unsure on how to actually secure themselves. So a lot of exposure to cyber threats. And then when they go out to market to actually find a solution, majority are coming back confused. There's too much choice. I'm not a cyber expert. I'm not sure how to protect myself. And they're really looking to CSPs for direction. So much so the whole CSP is accountable. As we saw that there is this propensity now to switch for security, better security, but we saw that that's also a driver for loyalty. So to keep your customer base with you, it's to show caring and trustworthiness, is to provide some solutions. And that goes with parents as well, looking for parental control. And it's a big global opportunity for CSP. So it's just going to take CSPs to move in, declutter the market, educate consumers and give them direction in terms of how they can protect themselves. And it's really an opportunity just waiting to happen.
This is good stuff. Thank you very much. I think let's move to more of the question. I have a couple of questions I want to ask you guys first, and then there are a couple of questions from the audience, and it's my opportunity to urge folks, if you want to send in questions, do it now. So we'll get to them. We should have some time. But I want to ask you guys first a couple of questions I've come up with that are at least of interest to me. Hope they're interest to other people too. So many service providers offer, there's a slide about this at the beginning, many service providers offer entertainment packages to attract customers, right? Yet in the survey, we saw that almost twice as many people ranked mobile security protection as a top concern over those ranking the entertainment. Okay, which I guess we're all consumers of this, and so I'm asking myself. I mean, is this something that that the CSPs are seeing or the telcos are seeing this? I mean, this is pretty stark in terms of the numbers. And what do you guys think?
I think that, definitely the carrier is seeing that, and we're seeing it from the field and the discussions with them. Yes, entertainment packages are nice to have. You have a lot of different ways to get the entertainment, if it's on, your TV when you're at home, and so on, and consumers understand that. On the other hand, you can get really, really damaged if someone hacks into your service, hack into your bank account. The grief, that you can get from that would be much, much harder to fix. So again, that's why I said earlier that for me, security is a core service. In a sense, entertainment, you can think about it as a value-added service, because you kind of, enjoy that, and you get another mean to get into content. But in this case, it's not content. Actually, the best way that the subscriber could have, if he has a security service, is not to hear anything. Just get the report at the end of the day, at the end of the week, and the end of the month, saying, "Oh, we, the carrier, blocked X threats to you, and you had you attempted to access Y websites that had damaging content in them," and so on. And they said, "Wow, the carrier protected me and did an amazing job in the protection." So again, it's a core service, and definitely a huge differentiator from entertainment. And if it came up as only 2 times higher than entertainment, I'm surprised. It should be even 4 or 5 times higher than entertainment.
I found
the most important factor in my view.
Well, I really like that question, because the other insight in there is that ensuring your mobile phone is almost as important as getting mobile security protection. So that's basically saying consumers are looking at cyber attacks in the sense that they're as likely to get a cyber attack as they are to drop their phone. It's that frequent, it's that severe at the moment. So that was quite an enlightening finding in the data.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go to one other one, and then I'm going to go to the ones from the crowd. Okay. So, and here is I want a sort of a leading question, because we can also feel free. This isn't obviously the focus of this webinar, but if you want to bring in a little bit about our solution here, feel free. But what should be included in mobile security according, say, based on the findings of the survey, but also based on our own experiences? What should be included in mobile security? DNS, endpoint, fix, mobile, the whole package. Maybe give an Allot 360 kind of a perspective, mostly.
So Allot has all of those solutions. It has the network security, the DNS, the endpoint, the home and the business. And the 360 is basically the glue that puts everything together. And I think that we're probably the only company in the market today that offers a true security manager of managers. So a true unified experience for the subscribers. Now, different aspects bring different levels of security. DNS has great protection, but it's limited to basically what DNS can cover. And if you have direct to IP attacks and stuff like that, then you can bypass DNS. And any teenager, I think that would do some basic research will be able to bypass that. But again, it provides a good basic protection. So I personally view DNS as a basic building block. And if you look at things like oblivious DOH, if you look at private relay and other areas, potentially there are ways to bypass it. The ultimate protection for the mobile phone is the network security, and there are aspects for that for 4G and aspects for that for 5G, but the idea is that it's inline or in top mode and basically protects the traffic as it goes through the network. And this is basically the most ultimate way to protect it, because you cannot really bypass it, and it's something that is future proof. So if DNS is the basic, the premium will be the network secure. And then, of course, once a subscriber installs, one doesn't need to actually install, but activates the network secure. And that's one of the, I think, secret secret things to the network secure. There's no need to install it. Then you can encourage the subscriber, okay, through one of the My Carrier applications. Okay, so if you do the settings through the My Carrier applications, now you can download the endpoint security and be protected when you're off the network. And then on top, if the carrier offers broadband services, it could be fixed wireless, it could be wireless, then you can protect your home service, and all through the same My Carrier GUI and controls. And if you want, you're a small business and you're like maybe a dentist, or you have stores and you want to protect the stores, then you apply the same protections to your business. So basically, the Allot differentiator, in my view, is the 360. It's the ability to manage all the different touch points, and the ability to give a simple and unified experience to the subscribers. And I think that's really the heart of what we're doing.
That's why I call that a leading question, because I lead you to what I hear. But the truth is, you also answered a question that we just got from our audience on that. So one less. So I got two questions here from the crowd, and unless you guys want to ask any more, then we'll wrap it up after that. But we'll just do these two questions. So the first one here, this is related to what you were just talking about. So software and services are as part of the solution. Is there any hardware as well?
So basically, when Allot provide the solution, we typically provide the software, the services, and the hardware could either be something that is installed on-prem, or it's something that you can work with, a cloud provider, like AWS, for example. And basically use it, because what Allot is supporting is a true cloud native environment with Kubernetes and everything, and on top we support on-prem installations. But in any case, our solution is always on the customer prem, even if it's installed in the cloud, if I understood the question correctly.
If not, they'll clarify. And okay. The last this morning, someone did clarify. So the last question here that I have: how about the risks of kids bypassing parental controls? Possible.
Again, the way that we built our solution is in a way that content filled. So we take information from a lot of different sources, like antivirus databases and many different sources, and we have a team that is 7/24 looking at different sites, and if by chance and very little chances we find a site that was accessed that was not supposed to, we add it within less than 30 minutes. So we really feel very confident about our ability to filter traffic. If a kid can bypass it, I think that the tools really do not allow the kids to bypass beyond the sites that are already known. If you basically activate it, since it's coming from the network, there's really no ability to access the sites. And once you basically hit the network, it will come in something blank or warning or something like that. So I don't see a way for a kid to bypass it. And if by coincidence, which is like the 99 point, something that is 0.00001% of getting into the wrong site, and the parent finds that, it will be immediately added to the website. But we don't encounter a lot of those cases.
I got it. Good stuff. So, Steven, you kind of got screwed here, because most of these questions were solution based. But I'm going to give you your final last words to both of you, if you guys want to throw in a last line before I wrap it.
So,
yeah, I mean, from my side, I think it's just been a really interesting journey from a researcher's point of view, having that independent view on the issues at hand, and how we're seeing the trends just move from 2020. You know, you don't really see that often in consumer surveys. Usually behavior does shift, but it was quite a significant shift. And I think, you know, let's bear in mind the pandemic has forced a lot of mobile home working, a lot of kids having on mobile phones and so forth. So a lot of behaviors changed. And I think the awareness of vulnerability, of how vulnerable consumers are, is now at a kind of peak, and we're seeing it's increasing. So so it's really encouraging to see how you know, how CSPs can play a role in protecting consumers, securing their devices and their children as well. So I think from a research perspective, it's been a really good journey. I think there's a lot of learnings from here that can shape the market going forward.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And for my end, I think that first of all, thank you, and it was a pleasure to be here. I think that the you know, the survey is definitely reflecting what I see in the field, and I think I even said it in some cases. I feel that the numbers are stronger if you take like a bigger 360 approach, but it's definitely reflecting a very strong need from the carriers to act, because if they don't, you know, the subscriber could look for other options. If
Right.
they do, the gains are stickiness with the carrier, with the subscriber, and everyone, like, it's a very competitive market in both the US and Canada. And more important, well, as important as the stickiness is ability to further monetize, because, you know, when you look at 4G, many subscribers' concern was that eventually they will just become like a dumb pipe, you know, and outside of providing communication, they will not be able to provide anything. So now with content like entertainment and content like and the ability to provide the security, the carrier is becoming a partner to the subscriber rather than just a pipe of communication. And as part of that, you provide the clean communication to the subscriber. You're able to monetize and actually have a subscriber that is happy to pay for that because they feel more secure and they feel like they work with a carrier that provides you the right tools to protect yourself and protect your family in the case of parental control. So for me, that's a type of a really important service that any carrier should provide. And I can tell you that, you know, I know that all the carriers today are looking to a good level of protection, but everyone are looking at it in different ways. And we see that the ones that are starting with just the endpoint as a protection, which is what most of them have done up to now, are really failing miserably. They're getting maybe 3, 4, 5% of their subscriber. So 95% of their subscriber base are in danger.
Right. Absolutely.
And okay.
Good stuff. I appreciate it. Thank you for that. And thank you both for participating. I just want to point out that, you know, this is not our first survey that we've been doing with you guys, Coleman Parks. And, you know, our audience can go to our website and check out previous surveys that we did in Q4 on small businesses, and then Q3 last year on the connected home. And of course, the previous consumer survey that we did that we were comparing it against here was back in December 2020. And I look forward to additional surveys. They definitely give insights, and like we said, and why I like this, I love these specific webinars, is that we bring folks like you, Moshe or Pierre, in the morning with the insight from the field to corroborate what we're seeing here from objective third-party research. That's pretty cool in my mind. So folks, we've reached the end of today's webinar. I want to take the opportunity to thank Stephen Saw, director at London-based Coleman Parks Research, as well as Moshe Moran, VP Sales North America at Allot, for joining me today. I also want to thank all of you for taking your time from busy schedules, for participating. We know that you've got other things to do, and we don't take it for granted at all. I want to remind you all that this session has been recorded and will be available on demand. And later on today, you'll be receiving the telco trend report, which is based on this survey. So you should be getting that. I also want to point out that exactly a month from today, we're going to have another webinar. This time, March 23rd. This time with Dr. Edward Amoruso, President and CEO of TAG Cyber, a research company who is also put out a report It's not a survey, but it's research that really goes into a lot of things that we were talking about today, some of the confusion in the market, making the case for the telco. It's going to be very interesting, and we urge you to join, and you can register for that webinar probably in about 10 days from now. One last thing, if you could just throw up the slide here, as before we close, we certainly would love to see you next week at MWC in Barcelona. Moshe, you're going to be there, aren't you? Right?
Yeah, I will be in Barcelona, and I look forward to meeting carriers and anyone in this call. If they're attending Mobile World, I'll be really happy to meet, share more views, and also more data. Thank you.
Very cool. You'll certainly meet me because I'll be there too, and looking forward to it. And folks, if you want to set up meetings in advance, you have my email here. You can reach out to us. So, folks, that brings us to the conclusion of today's event. Thank you all for joining. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, guys.